This is the statistics calculator set B set of questions or set of worksheets. So let's just have a look at this worksheet. This is what you should be looking at. Make sure it's the set B worksheet. Okay, you should have done set A by now. Maybe you have had a go at set B and should be checking your answers. So looking at the first one, what we need to be familiar with is the fact that we're looking for the total frequency. As we read the question, it says Bob asked each of his 40 friends. That 40 there means that the total frequency needs to add up to 40, and you could add it up or you could just write your 40 there. From the question itself, it says estimate the mean time that it takes. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw two more columns, midpoint and midpoint times frequency. Write down all the midpoints of the groups, so 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, and then times the midpoints by the frequency. So write a little time sign over here, and now work it out. Use your calculator carefully, right, and work out each of those values. A lot of people do make mistakes doing this, so I would do this twice if I were you. Add up these midpoints times frequencies, and they add up in this case to 1130. We're going to do 1130 divided by 40, and that gives us an answer of 28.25 minutes. Don't be worried if you get a decimal answer, and don't round it. Put your whole answer here. Okay, very likely to get this type of question, estimated mean. Look out for it and make sure you know how to do it. Question 2. Here are the ages of 14 students. So we know we're going to have 14 leaves there. Stem and leaf diagrams, you guys are pretty okay with this. Make sure you draw your leaf, your key, then put in your stems. In this case, they go 1, 2, 3, 4. The biggest value is 40 something. The smallest value is in the tens. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's put in the leaves. Take them off as you do it, right? And make sure you go through all of them. And at the end, once you put in all the leaves, you count them up, right? So count them and make sure you've got 14 of them there and all of them are ticked off. Be very careful with this. Don't lose any careless marks here. As we did in the last one, there are 14 values. So we're doing number 3 now. To work out where the median is going to be, always add 1 and divide by 2. 14 add 1 is 15. Divided by 2 is 7.5. I need to work out where the 7.5 term is going to be. So that's 1, 2, 3, first 4 terms, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the 7.5 term is going to be somewhere in the middle here between 21 and 25. If you add the two values together, that gives me 46. Then divide by 2, and that gives me 23. That tells me that the number that's halfway between those two is 23. To work out the halfway number, add them together and divide by 2. That tells you where the halfway number is. So there's a lot there. Make sure you understand it, make sure you can do it, and make sure you can do this in the exam. Okay, in this particular question, they've given us the lowest value, 30 for the box plot. Draw in the line, read the scale carefully. The median is 70. The upper quartile is 80. The lower quartile is 50. So I've put in all of those values, but here they give me the range. Now remember, the range is the biggest, take away the lowest. So to work out what the biggest value is, I need to add the lowest and the range. Adding the lowest and the range gives me 120, and 120 is going to be all the way on this end here. I put in my values, put in the two whiskers, draw around the box. As I said before, you don't need to make it that wide, but make sure you use a ruler and a pencil as you're doing it. As we said before as well, this is 0%, this here is 25%, this here is 50%, 75%, my upper quartile, and my highest value gives me my 100%. In this question here, they said, what the box plot above shows marks in a test. What percentage of students got 70 marks? Now the value you get will always be along one of these markers, and here I've got my 70 marks. 70 marks is going to be 50%. So 50% of students got less than 70 marks. Question 6 and 7 are the same definitions from before. Make sure you know them completely, and you could just answer those if you get them in an exam. Make sure you understand them completely. A random sample is a sample where each member of the population has an equal chance of selection. And explain what is meant by stratified sample. By a stratified sample, well, a stratified sample is a sample where all the subgroups which make up the population are in the same proportion in the sample. All the subgroups which make up the population are in the same proportion in the sample. Going on to question 8. As you read through question 8, the table shows the information of the number of students in each year group at a school. There's the table. A stratified sample of 60 students is going to be chosen. So straight away, once you see the fact that it's a stratified sample, you should know what to do. You're going to use the acronym NOW and think about what each of them mean. So we have new. The new value is that 60. 60 students is my new sample. Old is the old population, which is the total of all the values. And if I add them up now, I'm getting 750. And what you want, calculate the number of year 11 students that should be in the sample. The number of year 11 students in the sample is 130. So I put that, replace each of those letters with the numbers 60, 750, and 130. Do my calculation. I'm going to get 10.4 if I do that. So you stick that into your calculator, you get 10.4, and you now need to round that to the nearest whole number because you're dealing in whole people. The answer is 10 students. Okay, make sure you're comfortable with this and you can get full marks in a question if you get one of this type. Going on to question 9 and 10. Question 9 and 10 are really part of the same question. You usually get this as one whole question. Key to remember whenever you need to draw a histogram, right, is to work out the frequency density. And frequency density is frequency divided by class width. So let's work out the class widths. The class width is the size of each of these classes, and you can actually see it there. 65 take away 60 is 5. 70 take away 65 is another 5. 80 take away 70 is 10. 100 take away 80 is 20. Okay, so there are my class widths. So the frequency divided by the class width, 15 divided by 5 is 3. 20 divided by 5 is 4, 37 divided by 10 is 3.7, and 28 divided by 20 is 1.4. You can use your calculator to work out all of those, and now we need to go about drawing the histogram. Make sure you label the axes. So the vertical axis is frequency density, the horizontal axis, because I'm dealing in speed, is speed, and so let's label these up. If I label up the frequency density first, I need to go all the way up to 4. That's my highest value. So I put in these little markers first. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, if I actually work my way up, I can use the whole axis to represent 0 to 4. And then going across, I'm going to start from my smallest value here, 60. Right, and I want to see if I can get all the way up to 100. So if I do 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, that takes me there. I don't need to go any further. My first bar is going to be from 60 to 65, so just 5 wide, and it's going to go all the way up to 3. Right, I'll do that for all the other bars. The next bar is going to go from 65 to 70, and it will go all the way up to 4. The next bar, 70 to 80, and it goes all the way up to 3.7. Okay, and then the last bar goes from 80 all the way up to 100, and it goes up to 1.4. Make sure you read your scales carefully. Make sure you accurately draw this and use a pencil and ruler when you're drawing it. Okay, do go over this. Make sure you have taken your time to do it and you know how to do it, and all the other questions on this sheet.